And thank you very much. And I'm very happy to be joined here by none other than Ibriz. I think the first time that we actually meet this spring, and that's the first time since ESL Proxima's 2018. So it's been a while.
Certainly has, Chronicler, and of course I'm always happy to see you, much like how I'm always happy to see a Benelux representative actually do pretty well here, which is not something you can say every
Yes.
day, if I'm honest.
Oh, I mean, like I was of course casting at Suba versus Aces, which was a game.
Yeah, you said it was interesting.
But let me tell you that I happened to glance at both the Benelux games. So let's be honest, I'm a Benelux man through and through. And there were wins, but you know it was rough. It wasn't easy.
Yeah, you could say that, but speaking of some wins, we definitely need to see one from either of these teams here, because of course both of these teams here, K1ck Neosurf and Sector 1, contesting for that Tier 1 seed, heading out of Group D.
So let's take a look at pick and bans here, because as we said, it was not a convincing win from Sector 1, but it does put them firmly into second place, if I'm correct, because their competitor would be We Love Gaming, as we now see the Azir, Zoe, and Renekton banned away by Sector 1, whereas yet again, we see practice focus from K1ck. Every team has really been unfriendly towards the AD carry of Sector 1.
Yeah, practice, of course, very, very proficient, kind of consistent relative to the other members as well. Not to say they can't carry, but of course he is the one that's been super reliable. Of note, though, is that banning Ezreal Caitlyn for K1ck does kind of trim out Puki Styles' champ pool. Of course, it's not so bad as long as he gets his hands on the Varus, but this guy only plays traditional AD carries. None of this mage bot lane kind of stuff. But speaking of mage bot lane, Syndra taken away, Zoe taken out from Matislaw as well, does mean LeBlanc is pretty high prio for the side of Sector 1 in particular.
Yeah, as we will see more. Presumably mid lane is being banned. Also, Phoenix, in the Benelux, he's had a long streak of consistency recently, but traditionally he has been known as kind of an inconsistent player. And that inconsistency has once again reared his head, as we saw last game where he was focused very effectively, as we will see the Ornn ban, not too surprising, still one of the stronger tanks, not nearly as high pro as it used to be, and the Yasuo banned away here from K1ck.
Well, Mr. Chronicler, if you want to talk to me about inconsistent top lanes, let me point you to Ice Beast O on the side of K1ck Neosurf. If you've been watching E-Masters for a while, you may recognize him as the premier Polish top laner from spring 2018. Everyone was like, this guy is LEC, it was LCS back then, ready, he's going to be the next big thing. And then he just tilts off the face of the earth. And it's really, I cannot even begin to just stress how much the parallel between these two players really is.
And we see the Corki band away as well. So Matislaw not going to get that safe pick. And Azir, as mentioned previously, both of the two, I want to say, safest scaling mid laners taken off the board here, as we see the Sett pick up, a prime top laner picked up here for Neosurf.
Yeah, I think that's also very, very safe for Ice Beasto. It's been his most played champion of the split. Plus, it's quite hard to coin flip that lead away. Aatrox, on the other hand, one of the less reliable, but still does become that 2-item monster almost every game, as long as you don't shut him down completely.
Yeah, I'm not a really big fan of the Aatrox into Sett in terms of like 1v1 matchup. I do feel like it's playable for the Aatrox, but like Sett, it's just so incredibly strong. But as you say, Sector 1 more looking to something that can actually carry them to the later stage of the game, because with their Cassiopeia lock-in and the Aphelios here for practice, Sector 1's got to feel comfortable if they're able to store indefinitely like they did last time.
So just speaking back about that top lane matchup, and as you said last time between these two teams, we had Aatrox for Phoenix secured, and we had the Aatrox just tilt off the face of the earth. K1ck split the map, never really let Phoenix get on the board, never let dibu rear his head on the Elise anywhere near his solo laners, and they just took complete advantage of Phoenix, who just hemorrhaged kill after kill, resource after resource, and that was really not a good look for the less hyped member of our Benelux representatives, you could say.
No. Whereas you were personally witness to what the top laner for the other Benelux team can do, which is a lot.
He does it all.
He does it all. Phoenix, I still believe that he has what it takes, but I gotta say, after 2 games of that caliber, he was, of course, also this Wukong game we're in 2-10, now the Cho'Gath game. I feel like this is the where you show I can just go neutral. Like, giving up a kill or 2, no one's gonna really look at you funny. You know, it's not great. It's still disadvantage. But it is surmountable. So looking at the top lane matchup, but also in the mid lane, don't expect too much action there if you look at Viktor versus Cassio, because that's not a matchup that we've seen in a while.
I mean, you don't expect too much action by way of champions, but you also don't expect too much action from these players. Matislaw, renowned for being just, let me stick in lane, let me do my own thing, scale up till we get to team fights. And granted, he's insane in team fights. He shows up every time. Such good positioning from him, always consistent on dishing out the damage, and that's why I like a DPS-centric mage like the Viktor, rather than a burst champion, because Matislaw just lives for so long, dishes out damage for so long, but actually very similar to Knight in that regard, where they're not that huge on playing for the side lanes. Rather, for the first 20 minutes, you just expect them to be very consistent and present for their teams in the mid lane.
Yeah, Knight, of course, has had a bit of a kind of an adaptation coming in this season. It was also his Kiana, his Talon were banned at the beginning of the split. But it doesn't surprise me that now that Sector 1 is facing more pressure from teams that can really match them, they're going back to what has worked for them so long. Because Knight, of course, as you say, traditionally, he's always been the Rise, the Cassio player. Just skill and definitely, and then take over the team fights. I'm still hoping we're going to see a Knight Kiana, because it hasn't really shown it yet on the European stage, but that is, at least in the Benelux, was quite something as well. But let's take a look at these 2 team comps, because I feel like both of them have both scaling elements, but also a great number of buttons to push if you want to go for an extended skirmish or a fight in the mid game.
Yeah, I'm really eager to see if Puki style opts for the lethality Varus, but it's probably going to be the on hit, and that does mean that he wins out in trades early, especially if Saviour can't thread the miracle hooks.
But
Saviour,
what would you prefer here?
As a comp as a whole,
because we're going to see now, but don't look yet.
I definitely do prefer the team comp from K1ck, just because Shlatan is Shlatan, and I think the Gragas in his hands will really turn on the pressure.
But I was asking about the lethality Varus specifically. Yes or no?
I actually thought it was going to be on hit, but well,
now you know. Now
I know. It is lethality.
I told you not to look.
I've been trolled.
One thing, Ibriz.
Yes.
One thing.
Hit me, Chronicler.
I mean, I can't. I'm on the other end of a pretty large sheet, but if I could, I definitely would. But all jokes aside, we're getting into the third game, I want to say here tonight. Sector 1 taking on K1ck after a unconvincing Sector 1 win. This is the game that could potentially put them in first place if I'm not mistaken, if everything goes well. Some tiebreakers have to be played, but we will be looking at Shlatan, because the last time I saw these two teams face, it was, if I remember correctly, Hisley Sin that went 9-0.
Yeah,
like a lot.
A huge carry for this team, but also speaking of huge carries, Puki style kind of slept on by me and a lot of other people, because he's actually like Poland's biggest meme streamer, but he's actually not that bad a player either. He's been so consistently good and always charts in the top rankings of AD carries within the Ultra Liga. And yeah, a lot of respect for this player, but I do want to touch on his choice to go lethality here, and it does make sense the more we think about it, because think about a team fight. If you move up to auto-attack Cassiopeia, I think she'll kill you. Genuinely. Yeah. I think
like Aatrox, do you want to get near Aatrox? No, you don't want to get near Aatrox.
Yeah. It makes a lot of sense.
And we don't see any tanks on the side of Sector 1. I feel like if we saw something tankier come in, if Phoenix would have gone for something like the Maokai, then the on it makes a lot more sense. You can even opt to go into the AP Varus build, which I hadn't seen until I watched the exactly, the C9 versus TSM game, versus Team Liquid game, which was a lot better than I expected. But here, Puki style can shred through pretty much anyone, unless Sector 1 starts stacking those resistances, which with this comp, unless you get mountains, doesn't seem too likely.
So as well as that, I do like lethality just because it kind of makes the tankier members of Sector 1 opt into some Ninja Tabi. Cute roam from Saviour, unfortunately going to be warded out here. A lot of respect being given over by Matislaw. Yeah, he's considered very safe and reliable for a reason.
Oh, practice. So this is practice, as we knew him in the Benelux in the early weeks. Then he would have died. But he has really
matured.
Yeah, he really has. Over the course of the season, of course, great hats off to his coach Bjorn, who's had a great impact there. And looking at the early game, we're going to, of course, be looking at the Predator, Gragas, and the Lee Sin, but where do you expect them to focus their attention?
So I think the top lane is kind of a no-go right now, just because you've seen the Sett get an advantageous recall already. Neither of them committing their TPs either. Mid is very safe, but also both of these champions are relatively immobile unless they get that phase rush proc, especially pre that first upgrade for the Viktor. And I do think that the bot lane will be the hot point of contention, as that is not a good start for dibu.
It happens, right? Everyone gets juked by Scuttle. I mean, I can admit that I've missed multiple cards for Skittles on that crab. Shlatan goes to top lane. Phoenix doesn't have any vision. His wave is pushing it. Is he gonna get targeted yet again? He has been such a focal point of attention. But it looks like for now he is playing respectful, and that's what Sector 1 needs to do. As I don't think we're actually going to see any action as the recall goes through. And now Phoenix walks in. It could have been very bad. And I'd love to ask your opinion on Knight going for the phase rush here of Cassiopeia instead of something that we often see as well, which is the Conqueror.
So the phase rush does let you chase down certain members of K1ck very reliably, and it does give you a little bit more safety when the Gragas does decide to rear his ugly head in the mid lane, because you can just W so he can't slam you, Q him, and then walk away for good measure. The thing about that, when it's matched by the Viktor, is that you'll just see them both kind of walk into each other, walk away. And credit to Matislaw, actually, for soaking not only that gank from Saviour at level 2, but also just now soaking dibu's first gank. And that Lee Sin first gank, super, super impactful. And the fact he didn't get anything for it, testament to how much like some of these teams have committed to shutting down Matislaw, only for him to just shirk it off, laugh it off, and scale into that reliable teamfight threat that the Polish mid laners know and love.
And that's what I really like, because as you said, it's a really good match here between these two mid laners, because both of them are notorious for being hard to gank, for being consistent in team fights, and that really makes me wonder as we go into the later stage of the game, who is going to actually find an edge there. The last time was, of course, K1ck, but it was with a very different team composition. It was Sector 1 who went pretty all in on early game, and was then not able to pull it off.
I mean, as well as that, you have that like double-edged sword of being hard to gank / always present in team fights, of being somewhat invisible during the lane phase. As Sector 1 trying to step for the freeze there, but they get re-engaged on.
But dibu is there to help out. Saviour getting taken real low. The shield is enough to keep him alive, and now Puki style needs to be careful. dibu goes in with the flash slow, and now the final auto attacks are not really coming through. Carefully, dibu goes in very deep. Practice goes for Gravidum. Once they hit the auto, Saviour is still there as well, but the mana is really low. They go on Practice and find first blood. A disastrous turn of events as Sector 1 over Chase.
Yeah, a bit of a greedy overstay from the side of Sector 1. Saviour lucky to escape with his life. They got 2 flashes, but the snare came through from the Aphelios, and that made dibu think, hey, maybe we can commit for this. Unfortunately, the reason why K1ck weren't hitting that around immediately is because they were waiting for the Varus Q cooldown. As soon as that came back up, they turn around, they get the kill, and they get a Drake on top of it for good measure.
Sector 1 getting a bit greedy, as you say. Just taking the summoners would have been enough, would have really upped the threat of a level 6 play by dibu. Instead, they give up a Cloud Dragon. It's not the worst dragon they give up, but it's more about the timing that it gives K1ck, and the fact that it gets them closer to the inevitable Ocean or Mountain Soul, both still on the table here. And I can imagine that both teams are going to be drooling at the thought of a Mountain Soul. Although, I guess for Sector 1, it might be even more beneficial because it allows you to actually deal somewhat with Puki style if you would find a mountain. Whereas if you're K1ck and you get an Ocean Drake on your Lethality Varus, it's not going to be good, especially with Viktor there as well.
Yeah, your sustained siege is just going to become really, really difficult to deal with.
Yeah.
And again, I like the Lethality Varus against Cassiopeia because she is relatively immobile unless she can proc both her passive from the Q and the phase rush. So in a siege scenario where she's unable to hit anyone, just arrow bait at that point, put an apple on her head and call it a day.
Yeah, just fire off some piercing arrows, fire off a chain if she dares to come close, and let that be the end of it. Because the follow-up is also good, as we see the composition of a K1ck here does have some capabilities to have a follow-up engage with the Gragas. Of course, the Nautilus is very dependable, as we see here now. Approaching 8 minutes. 1k gold leader for K1ck, which definitely not bad. Kind of similar to what we saw last time. But I gotta say, after last game, as we do see an invade coming through here, I'm very reluctant to count Sector 1 out until they're actually down and about. dibu needs to be careful here, though, because he is in the zone.
Raxxo.
Okay. Never
All right,
mind.
not so bad. Yeah, 8-minute rotation from K1ck, pretty telegraphed. And Sector 1 opting to not follow that and just saying, look, let's get some resources back. They will delayed follow up on it, which I'm not sure is necessarily the best decision, considering Matislaw seems to be zoning 3 people by himself right now. And the Herald not long for this world, as Sector 1 will make the delayed collapse.
And I am wondering whether or not they actually want to go through here. Raxxo does get knocked up, but it's going to just cake the Raxxo. And now the follow-up damage there from dibu, more than enough, and it's a follow-up kill. Kill for Rift Herald, not the greatest trade, but Sector 1 will take what they can get.
To be honest, yeah, happy to be back on the board right now, our Sector 1. And the thing about Sector 1 is that they are really good at fighting around where their strengths are in terms of the game, in terms of spikes. As soon as they see the opportunity or they have a favorable matchup, they'll go for it. They'll just pull the trigger there. The thing is, when behind, they get a little bit shaken. They get a little bit taken off guard, much like Practice may be doing so right now as Ice Beast goes in the bush.
And we see that Ice Beast just walks out. So last time it was Icebreaker that absolutely demolished Phoenix before then absolutely demolishing himself.
Nice. I feel it. I feel it, yes.
Yeah, it's not wrong. This time it's Phoenix against yet another ice type, and that actually beckons the question. Phoenix is, of course, a Firebird, as we see the top lane push happening here. Does that mean he's bad to any ice type? I guess it'd be water rather than ice. So actually, interesting.
It's a neutral matchup actually, because Moltres is both super effective with the fire but weak with the flying. And well, that was not a super effective hook, let me tell you. Raxxo points for trying. It zones out Phoenix with the Predator though, and once an extra plate drops here, you should just see the Herald popped into a free.
And there we go.
First blood.
Yeah, pretty straightforward. Cookie kind of play means that K1ck is going to build up the lead again. It was only 1k, went down to 500, and will now go back to probably around 1k as well. That first turbo bot is always a big, juicy pickup as the last slap comes through. A little bit more. Sector 1, they pick up some plates. On the bot side, they're probably not going to be able to get the turret here with the two of them, but Practice and Saviour can at least push on. And nothing too major here. Nice play by K1ck, very, as you said, by the books. And I think this next fight is going to be a key one because it might set the stakes for the upcoming mid game.
So I think this could actually have been a tier 1 bot secured by Sector 1 had they just stayed and not tried for that delayed / pointless try and follow up to the K1ck first rotation to the Rift Herald 2.5 minutes ago. But hindsight's 2020. They get a couple of plates back either way. And yeah, as you said, they're just going to set up for a bit of a skirmish around this Drake. The Sector 1
Raxxo, please be careful.
It looks a little bit disjointed when behind, but dibu's like, nah, I'll just go in anyway. That's absolutely fine. And this is a jungle matchup that sees the guy considered to be the best jungler in play-ins matched up against one of the ones that maybe a lot of analysts have been sleeping on.
I think dibu has been the most consistent factor of Sector 1. As Practice needs to really respect the fat man. Shlatan going to clear the wall there. And the setup is here from K1ck, but Sector 1 is looking to maybe contest here. Saviour goes in for the hook, finds it there.
Matislaw!
You look at that damage, and that's going to be the end of that team fight almost immediately. As I don't think there's a lot they can do. Practice is actually wanting to try and take something on. He gets hit by the corrupting chains. It's going to be the end of him. Triple kill now for Matislaw, and this is not a good skirmish. I think Sector 1 will pick 1 kill up, which is probably going to go tonight. Actually going to get taken by Phoenix there. But that's a triple kill on the person you called one of the main carries in team fights. And Viktor, when he gets fed, is not great to play against, especially if you also give him a free Infernal Drake.
And you know you're behind on tempo when Matislaw is the one making the first onus on the roam there. Because, yeah, this guy, as we said, he likes to sit in his lane. But really, really good lineup of just CC to wait for the Viktor combo, to wait for the Viktor AoE. And yeah, line him up and knock him down. The mid laner for K1ck now super, super relevant, even before that team fight phase really rolls around.
As Ibo?
Dibu?
Ibo? I mean...
Saviour?
Ibo? So, that's going to be it for him, right? He's going to get hooked.
Hook.
And die.
He's going to W.
Yeah, doesn't really do a lot. So, back to these types. If so Phoenix obviously fire.
Poison on the Cassiopeia as well.
Very easy. Yeah.
Fighting on Lee Sin. Aphelios, jack of all trades. And actually, I wanted to talk about the Aphelios in lane. And the reason why I like Aphelios into lethality Varus is because if you get hit by like a monster Varus Q, by the way, Ocean Drake, as we mentioned, would be pretty bad for Sector 1 to give over. But yeah, if you get hit by a Varus Q, you have your Runans as your second item as Aphelios. with the red weapon, you auto-attack one Raptor camp once, and suddenly you're back to full health after a Varus Q. So it's not the worst matchup if Practice can weather this storm, but the lethality in pocket right now for Puki style, pretty damn difficult to overcome.
Yeah, because it's both Umbral Glade... Dibu, you sneaky man. Goes for the play there. Tries to go for the 100-0 on Shlatan, who does find the stopwatch. Dibu needs to get out of there, but they will find the kill, and Practice gets some much-needed gold.
Yeah, Practice on the board now. Not really the big snowball that the Aphelios maybe hoped for, but still very, very relevant. Unfortunately for Phoenix, he's left holding the Fed member again, and yeah.
But he's doing better than last time.
Yeah.
Like by a lot.
For now.
That's good. But there comes Ibo. I think it's going to be a lot less good. Facebreaker does come in, and that is a very deep showstopper. I don't know how I feel about that, Ibo, especially with the teleport coming from Knight there. And Ibo's positioning has been a little bit suspect, and now Knight can chase through him. He has to be used there. They need to respect the damage, though. Matislaw with the fade away there. Doesn't look at the snake. Not scared, because he immediately moves back and takes it down. And that is going to be a very nicely played out skirmish. And, you were really hyping up Matislaw, and I was like, okay, Ibriz hyping up people. Let's see what actually... Well, you were not wrong.
I mean, I was hyping up for team fights, not 14 minutes into the goddamn game, just making the insane outplays, punishing Sector 1 for overcommitting there. They committed a TP and they were like, all right, we need to force this play. But speaking of forcing play, Shlatan
needs to respect here as Phoenix does come through with the teleport. These are the kind of skirmishes Sector 1 you be careful for as teleport comes through. Matislaw going to join the fight, and that means that Sector 1 wants to disengage. Depth charge probably going to be the end of Saviour as Dibu and Practice will make it out. Teleport is forced, but that's not really worth it if you consider you give them a kill and a Rift Herald to do so. And Sector 1 really wanting to skirmish at this point in time with a deficit like this in a composition that, if Matislaw shows up, is not going to do great.
Yeah, the thing about Sector 1 now is that they don't really know how to cut their losses. You see them overcommitting. They're like, all right, we commit TP bot. We need to fight this. With the Petrifying Gaze, just got it turned around with Matislaw there. Then when he turns up to the mid-game fight, they were like, all right, we can catch the Gragas, and then the re-engage came through, and they were like, oh, okay, we've committed too many resources to just back out now. Credit to them to trying to force and being proactive, but at the end of the day, you're just giving kills and gold over to a composition that very, very happy to eat that up and run with the lead. Lethality Varus certainly does snowball hard, to say nothing of the Viktor that's just going to wreck you in team fights.
I guess, of course, Sector 1 has some components of their own, but they're down to 2 Drakes. They're down to considerable on the gold, and I don't think, if you look at the item spikes, Phoenix doesn't even have his first item yet. This next team fight is going to look particularly well, meaning that K1ck is probably going to be on Soul Point. And if we take it at a bit of a broader perspective here, because I want to talk to you about that. If I'm not mistaken, if K1ck win this, they will definitely lock in first place. Consider they don't lose to We Love Gaming again. Because I don't think those two teams played yet. Whereas for Sector...
They take it either way. Like, I think they take it either way, honestly, even if they do lose to We Love Gaming here, because Sector 1 did beat...
No, but if Sector 1... Oh, a Saviour gets booped and immediately dies. And, Sector 1 not really respecting. Another kill from Matislaw, which is about as bad as it gets.
I mean, it's not Yasuo Gragas, but Viktor Gragas, pretty damn devastating too.
This is starting to look a lot like the last game the TCU teams played, and I feel like K1ck really, at this point in time, is a bit too much for a Sector 1 that still feels, to me at least, feels kind of disjointed and feels a little bit over-eager, a little bit nervous in how they approach these plays.
Yeah, I did like the fact that they were eager to make the play, especially pre-15 minutes, but then...
Oh, I love it, yeah. Don't take that inhibitor. Very nice.
Just kind of folds, but actually allowing the Herald to fight that inhib, kind of odd, but all right, I'll take it.
Well, you'd rather have them take the inhib there?
No. I mean, they allowed the Herald to get the charge off anyway, which is a bit odd, but yeah, you won't take the inhib pre-20 minutes anyway, because you would just give farm back over to a Cassiopeia that you want to starve out of the game.
Inhib's just going to chill, right? It's going to slowly sustain back up.
Yeah.
Hang out with some minions, misses turret. That's how it goes. Even inhibs need to social distance in these trying times. As a Saviour and Dibu apparently did not get the memo about maybe taking some less risks with plays like this, which I actually love. Can Matislaw survive here?
It's a proactive play. He has no cleanse because he took TP to match Knights. So
Oh, look at Matislaw also.
Be something. Raxxo's coming up though. Raxxo's gonna try and force something.
Oh, it's sidestep. Oh, but now Saviour goes in, and that's that's a lot of burst from Viktor, who is level 13 and now 6-0. And the Sett teleport comes in as well, and Debo not maybe in really big trouble here. Showstopper is available. Aibo also found the sidestep. Haymaker still available, and now Knight is going to try and turn it on Matislaw. Is working out for now. Chase down comes through. Puki down are also there, but Sector 1 actually gets Dibu out. I do think this is going to be some snake ladder that is unfortunately going to be it for Knight.
What?
He's actually not trying the back.
Wait, they don't know that he's... Wait.
They don't know where he is. They didn't actually see him move anywhere. The alcoves have a use.
Oh my god.
Alcove gamers.
That was so odd. This buys time for Phoenix to do his thing. And
wait, no one died there by Sector 1. They just...
They lost Saviour at the start of it, to be fair. They lost Saviour at the start when he overcommitted. Yeah, no, I'll take that. To be fair, I will take that. You get tier 1 on Phoenix. You get this 120 farm Aatrox, getting 25% extra farm in the past minute. Because, yeah, that's how stacked waves work.
That's... I mean, you know, it looks very odd, but I'm going to take it as Puki style does now finish the Ghostblade. I'm such a big fan of that Ghostblade and Boots of Swiftness combo on the Lethality Varus.
Very, very hard to catch by the Cassiopeia, who we said was taking Phase Rush to do exactly that. And as well as that, just gets to navigate the fight a little bit more cleaner. Practice with the Infedge Rush completed on the Aphelios does feel pretty good right now, but here's a catch on Saviour, who's not feeling the greatest himself.
0-4 currently on the Thresh, not having a very clean game. Can still play Lantern, but of course, as Knight's off in the side lane. And why not? There's no objective on the map currently. Next Drake's 2 minute 30. And if there's one point of criticism, I do feel like with the builds being chosen here, you don't have that faster Baron here as K1ck. Although, I mean, Viktor's still going to get through it relatively quickly. But not having Unhid Varus, not having a Blade of Druid King on Ibo, at least alleviates what might otherwise be absolutely terrifying Baron pressure.
Yeah, definitely. And on the other hand, if Sector 1 choose to make a Baron power play themselves, while get commit to the bottom half of the map, Cassiopeia, Aphelios completely shred it by themselves. And then having both those on the same team is just pretty much an insta-kill on that neutral objective.
Sneaky Barons might be a possibility here, but then Sector 1 needs to stop the tempo that Shlatan and consorts are building here. But we talk about Shlatan, but it's really mainly been about the man in the mid lane, Matislaw, 6-0-1 in the Viktor, 700 gold bounty. And normally I'd be worried, you know, maybe what if he gives up that 700 gold bounty? But if I can believe you, Ibriz, and you know I do, then that's probably not going to happen.
He's in his comfort zone now, and this is funny because I was speaking to some of the other mids in this tournament, like a good handful of them. And the consensus on Matty was that he was a good mid laner, he was a good laner, he was strong in lane, fantastic in team fights, but kind of invisible was the quote that was used by a couple of mids as to his roams and how he influences the lane. That's why LeBlanc was unpicked, but that's also why his Viktor is disgusting.
Not quite enough, but that's the amount of poke that you expect from a Viktor later on, and the Lethality Varus is kind of known for. But that is a Baron getting started up here by K1ck. And Sector 1 does know that this is happening. And as we said before, I said the Baron didn't go down very fast. But looking at this Baron, kind of feels different. He's currently at 4K.
Re-engage.
And there goes a showstopper on Saviour, who has a nice flash over the wall. Now, Ibo does go very deep. They have taken him off the Baron, and now Knight comes in. I don't think Haymaker's available, and that's actually just a 1-for-1 trade. That's not too good. Almost a kick there on Puki style, who makes great use of the movement speed available to him, because if that would have hit, I don't know what would have happened. But Phoenix now going in, and Matislaw goes down for the chase. Also has that phase rush available. And Knight looking for the flank. Dibu goes in big. There we go. The kick on Matislaw is grounded. Can't get out. Practice tries to go deep, but they will in the end kind of. It's a 2-for-1 trade, but with that shutdown, I think that Sector 1 is going to take that because Phoenix is going to feel a whole lot more comfortable. And we wanted to see a better game from him. This is probably going to be the Ocean Soul, though, so I still don't know if it's really worth it. But you have to know Baron. And I guess an early Elder is good for Sector 1 if you want to stay positive, but K1ck still get the better end of the play. Knight and Saviour, though, not taking any of it. There comes Phoenix. He just had an enormous buy. Has the Death Dance available now. And I don't think K1ck can actually stay. That's another shutdown on Knight, the person who you want to deny gold to the most. As now Shlatan and Puki style, he'll get used aggressively. Saviour does go down. Not sure what they want to do here. Sector 1 seems to be at a bit of a loss. There comes the showstopper. Suplexes Knight into the rest of the enemy team. And Sector 1 find a clean play, but then immediately throw it out again. Dibu indubitably going to go for the Dibu steal here. Because if he doesn't find that, it's going to be the Ocean Soul taking him. And Matislaw is playing guard duty. He has to be careful because now he's off on his own again against Practice and Dibu. They just want to stall here. Where Phoenix is taking down Puki style. He doesn't have mana. Phoenix does get taken down by a really nice Hazemaker. Dibu gets taken low. Matislaw flashes forward and finds the kill. And now Practice tries the 1v1 at Turbo Fat Viktor. That doesn't go well. And Sector 1 tries to do a lot, but none of it works.
Yeah, K1ck get the cleanup, they get the Ocean Soul, and they get Sector 1's carries into the graveyard. Only member of this team living now is Saviour, who isn't too threatening as 0-6 Thresh. Gonna have to see the Baron, you have to imagine as well. And K1ck take firm control here. They were still in control a couple of minutes ago, but now you have to imagine the fist is closing around the necks of Sector 1.
And after last game, I'm hesitant to call it out, but K1ck thus far have been looking very good. And I think we can see clear, I want to say level difference between these two teams, because I don't feel like it is an immense gap, but after seeing these two games, I do feel like it is a very noticeable gap in that you feel like these types of plays are kind of on a knife's edge, and Sector 1 is able to almost match, but then when push comes to shove, it's always K1ck that gets the favorable trade.
I mean, yeah, as well as that, yeah, the macro, the micro, it's all coming up good for a team that we had coming into even the whole event, including the main event. People were like, all right, K1ck, maybe contesting for top 8, maybe even making a surprise appearance in top 4 of the overall event. And the fact that they dropped a game to WLG, huge upset, huge surprise on day one. We were like, all right, it's Ultra Liga. They do this every year. They make us super hyped, and then they just fall flat.
Oh, look at Dibu's positioning here, though.
It's not a great look for them, but this game looks pretty beautiful. Phoenix
going to go in very deep. Has the Death Dance available to keep himself
again going wide.
And there goes Dibu. Finds a K1ck on top of Matislaw. The one person you need to find. They get another shutdown on the Viktor. And Dibu gives up his life, but he'd be more than happy to. Sector 1 does need to now stay alive, which is considerably harder. But that is another big shutdown going over, and Sector 1 at least keeps this game exciting.
I mean, I was looking at Sector 1's solo laners there, because Knight threw out the Petrifying Gaze into the endless void again. But yeah, Dibu coming up huge, and this was the guy we slept on. I said this is Shlatan, considered to be one of the best junglers in the entire tournament. This is Dibu, who no one's really heard of. And look at that K1ck, shutting down the consistent teamfight carry. Matislaw, with his position wasn't even that bad, just Dibu threading the needle, finding the play, and actually stagnating a lot of the pressure that K1ck can now apply, and buying precious time where the Baron buff is going to fall off.
Because the one downside of having a Viktor that is this fad is that, as we see here, if he dies, that's it for your pressure. The golden Sector 1 is spread much more evenly, also in the bad way, because their kills are also spread much more evenly, although the bot lane seems to be having a bit of a surplus. But as soon as Matislaw goes down, you can't really afford to stay around here as K1ck, as Sector 1's going to take that trade any time of the day. Now, push comes to shove, this is still very much a K1ck favored matchup. They have the Ocean Soul available, they have an open inhibitor here, but Sector 1 seems to have resorted to something that the Fuse kids did in their last game as well, which is just this guerrilla-style warfare, where you go for death brushes, you go for these really kooky flanks, and if they work out, they just keep buying you time. And although I hesitate to say that Sector 1's comps skills better, I do feel like Aphelios and the Cassiopeia and late game are just something else entirely.
Yeah, very much less cooldown reliant than their counterparts in the Viktor Varus. So if K1ck can get baited and taking extended trades, it should go up by way of Sector 1. But these fights so far have just been on a knife's edge, instant skirmish, click fingers, and here's one now.
Baron about to time out. That's a grip on Saviour, who doesn't really care. Quite tanky here. Gets the hook there on Evo as well. Has to flash over the wall. Moonlight's Vigil, use the fancifully. Evo goes very deep, trying to kill a Thresh. Is able to almost get Dibu, but almost not quite enough. Now, Practice and Saviour, can they hold on? The Baron buff has timed out, so these waves are not nearly as spooky as they might otherwise be. Knight raiding in the wings, looking for a possible flank. And I think that's going to be it here for the Baron buff from K1ck. They didn't even get a single inhibitor. which is surprising to say the least and speaks to the defensive gameplay of Sector 1. K1ck are still sticking around here, though, and I feel like that's a bit of a risk, as we do have 5 members up here. Dibu now also making his way. Phoenix goes in big, tries to go, but gets taken out almost immediately. K1ck get away with the lantern as Puki style finds Knight, and that's a really big problem here. Now Aatrox down as well. Practice as altering as much as he can, but he's not doing that much.
First kill!
Oh, that's a beautiful piercing arrow coming through it from Matislaw. And we go from a Sector 1's who defensive plays call good to a Sector 1 who might possibly lose the game here as the wave will get shoved in by Ibo there as he makes his way downtown. At the very least, there's going to be 2 inhibitors. I don't know if Sector 1 can actually hold on if you look at the death timers. And K1ck might have just done it here. And it feels like a game that Sector 1 can lose in Nautilus universe, but K1ck just too consistent. Well, that was, yeah.
Interesting. Yep.
That was practice.
Practice was certainly a thing there, yeah. Once the carries from K1ck got ahead, they had good team fighting, they had good sieging, and they had no real way of Sector 1 getting back into this.
And that is going to be the Nexus here as Sector 1 tries to go for a last Hail Mary play, but it is too little and too late. K1ck here with a very deserved second win. Although I gotta say, while I like this, I do feel like these are the types of games that you would not expect from someone who is, as you mentioned, maybe rumored to be one of the tournament favorites to actually make it far.
Yeah, definitely it does lend a lot more credence to K1ck's potential per se on the international stage than their day 1 showings. And if they can continue to shore up their play, certainly favored there. And I think that this does break open the group to a point where you now have a little bit of separation here, with K1ck staking a claim firmly for that first seed. And Sector 1, rather than playing spoiler to K1ck, maybe now just setting their sights on WLG and looking for that second seed.
And I think the only thing that Sector 1 needs to do is win against the final in their group, which is K1ck Esports, which last time they had no difficulty with. And that would mean that we see the Benelux seed actually make it through. But I see you living up.
Chronicler, because DK beat Mad Lions, we could see them get first seed in Group C, and then the Benelux death match with Sector 1 getting C2. I thought it'd be the other way around with Sector 1 getting first seed here by upsetting K1ck, and Diffuse Kids getting second behind Mad Lions. But the dream is not dead yet, my friend.
I mean, I would be really sad because I don't want to see my 2 teams eliminating each other. But, hey.
But then you get at least one in the main event. So
that is actually true. I like your way of thinking, Ibriz, and thank you very much for joining me here. We are going to go to a short break, and then we'll be back with yet another game because rest assured, we're not done with the EU and play-ins yet here at GameLux. We will see you all very soon.